The January transfer window is just a few weeks away, which can only mean one thing. We got plenty of transfer rumours to talk over. Let's jump into it. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel and to the return of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. Plenty has been going on over the Championship recently, and on my Twitter timeline I've seen plenty of rumours popping up over the last week or so, and I thought that it was about time we brought back the series. Obviously, in the build-up to January, there's going to be more and more stories that continue to come out, but as always, any other stories that we've missed in today's video, make sure to get them in the comments down below. And in general, what positions do you think your club should be looking to strengthen in the January transfer window? As always, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. 300 likes would be massively appreciated. But without any further ado, before we actually jump into any transfer rumours, we've got a new manager to talk about. So my club, Preston North End, wasted absolutely no time at all in appointing Ryan Lowe as our new manager. Manager as well, not head coach, which I thought was quite the interesting distinction. But I'm absolutely buzzing, to be honest with you. Ryan Lowe was a manager that was talked about in the summer, to be honest, when it was still up in the air about Frankie McAvoy. But the sort of profile of manager that I was speaking about on my reaction video to Frankie losing his job, Ryan Lowe seemingly ticks all the boxes, to be honest with you. Preston fans wanted a young manager who's going to come with an idea and an identity to get behind for hopefully what's going to be a long-term project. Similar to Alex Neil when he first came in at North End. All the interviews that he's given at the club so far, the message has been clear, and there's just been a real uplift in spirits, I feel like, since it's been announced. You know, the messaging that's been coming out from the club has been night and day compared to what we were getting at the start of the season. And I do think that, you know, like I said in that Frankie video, make sure to go and watch it if you've not already, I do think there's a lot more to come from this squad than what we're currently seeing out of them. There's a lot of talented players in this team that shouldn't be downplayed. So yeah, really excited to see what Ryan Lowe can do with us for not just the rest of the season, but moving forward into future years as well. But yeah, very excited to see what the future holds for North End. Now, without any further ado though, let's jump into some transfer rumours. So we'll start out with the Tom Lawrence rumour. It's looking more than likely that we'll get quite a few clubs circling around Derby heading into the January transfer window, with Derby's current predicament with HMRC and paying off debts and things like that. Sales look more than likely. Now, Tom Lawrence is an interesting one. I think a report came out a couple of weeks ago claiming that he was on £37,000 a week, which is absolutely, you know, crazy money, isn't it? And in that report, you know, it sort of highlighted that Derby would be willing to let him go for a minimal fee just to get him off the wage bill. Clubs that have been linked, the likes of West Brom, Watford, Norwich, Burnley and Bournemouth. I'd be surprised if he got a Premier League move, to be honest with you. I've always been a little bit hit and miss on Tom Lawrence, but maybe one of those clubs in the bottom three at the moment would be willing to take that gamble on, you know, a relatively low fee. To be fair to Lawrence, his form has picked up over the last month or so. He has had some decent moments for Derby. Seems to be a very sort of hit and miss player for them, doesn't he? It's also worth noting as well that he is actually the club captain at the moment, as he was made that at the start of the season. So yeah, Tom Lawrence, I'd say probably is more than likely to leave in January, albeit I'm not sure it would be to a Premier League club, although we have seen moves like that happen in the past, you know, like Ashley Fletcher getting that move to Watford, which seemed a little bit strange at the time. So maybe a top 6 club, top half Championship club will come in for him and take that gamble. Premier League club, we'll wait and see. Another rumour going around about a Derby player at the moment is that of goalkeeper Kelly Roosh, with the likes of Norwich, Fulham and Bournemouth all keeping tabs on the goalkeeper whose contract is expiring at the end of the season. With those club mentions, you'd imagine that this one would be almost certainly as a backup option. Now, this rumour sort of leads into the next one, but it is being reported that Jordan Hugill will be recalled by Norwich at the start of the January transfer window. His move to West Brom so far this season hasn't exactly clicked. I thought this one would be a decent fit, to be honest with you. I remember saying at the time I didn't think this was particularly a bad option for West Brom. By no means did I think he'd be a prolific goal scorer for them, but I at least thought he'd be a decent fit into a Valérien Ismaël system, you know, with the sort of type of striker he is. But yeah, so far this season, Hugill and West Brom just haven't really clicked together. Just one goal, albeit the majority of his appearances have come off the bench this season. But yeah, this rumour does lead into the next one. And that is because Almeda is potentially going out on loan in January, with Nottingham Forest being the club most linked to him at this point in time. That's what you get when you have Steve Cooper as your manager. You get linked to some quite promising youngsters. But the majority of his minutes have come off the bench so far this season. season. Interestingly enough though, he did start for Norwich just the other day in their 3-0 defeat against Spurs, but it has looked as if a loan move would suit him, and I sort of agree with that really. Only 20 years old, he's only played 144 minutes of football this season. I think the Championship would suit him more for where he's currently at the moment. So the idea here is, you know, he gets sent out on loan to Forest, gets a little bit more game time in a side who are doing fairly well at the moment under Steve Cooper, and a manager who's known for sort of bringing up these youngsters. Norwich will then get Jordan Hugill back, and I suppose, I mean, he can be at least a different option that they've got going forward. But yeah, I could potentially see this one happening. I think this one's got a bit of legs to it. But it wouldn't be a transfer rumour roundup video without a Dwight Gayle rumour thrown in there. So here is that section of the video. But he has been linked to a few Championship clubs at the moment. Both West Brom and Nottingham Forest have been mentioned. Now, with West Brom, obviously, with them potentially losing Jordan Hugill, it appears as if that they would be in the market for another striker come January. Does Dwight Gayle fit the current mould of the squad? I don't know, there's a few different angles to look at this. First of all, of course, it's Dwight Gayle, and his record in the Championship is absolutely sublime. One of the best sort of goals to game ratios that we've ever seen at this level. But he is 32 now, and the last sort of 2.5 seasons, he's not played a lot of football. He has been fairly injury prone in that time, and has obviously fallen down the pecking order at Newcastle as well. So far this season, he's just played 21 minutes of Premier League football. And I can't help but think that a target man would be more suited to Ishmael as well. You know, it does seem at the moment that this West Brom side isn't exactly the best fit to his philosophy, and if you're bringing in Gayle, you're sort of carrying on building the squad away from his philosophy. But at the end of the day, it's also Dwight Gayle who could be a decent sort of short-term option for the rest of the season, who's going to score you the goals to end up getting you promoted. So there's two ways you can probably look at this one, with the Forest angle as well. Yeah, what do you guys think about this one? Would you take Dwight Gayle? Let me know down below. Sunderland defender Tom Flanagan has been linked to a few Championship clubs. The likes of Preston, Bristol City and Middlesbrough have all been mentioned over the last month or so. I believe his contract is up at Sunderland come the end of the season, but I'm not sure I'd read all too much into this, although it is an interesting situation, particularly with Preston's backline at the moment. Obviously, Seth van den Berg is on loan at the moment, and then we've got the likes of Paul Huntington, Patrick Bower and Andrew Hughes, whose contracts all run out at the end of the season. So yeah, you'd imagine that something would have to give with some of those renewals between now and the end of the season. But yeah, time will tell on this one, although this rumour does feel a bit like sort of his agent drumming up a bit of interest. Not sure there's too much in this one. One move that does look more likely for North End though is Bambo Diaby, who's currently on trial with North End. That's a name that I've not heard in quite some time, obviously. Previously of Barnsley, he's been serving a 2-year suspension on football due to breaking anti-doping rules. It's all a bit of a strange story really, but his ban expires on the 16th of January, so understandably so, and I think a few clubs will be looking at him. It is also worth mentioning as well that eventually he was found not guilty of knowingly ingesting the prohibited substance, but his 2-year ban was still upheld nonetheless. Next up then, and I feel like this story is going to get plenty of attention over the following weeks, Ben Brereton Diaz has been linked to quite a few interesting moves actually. Both Leeds United and Sevilla have been two clubs mentioned for the Chilean star. Now, he's obviously had a fantastic season for Blackburn so far. 17 goals, 1 assist. Blackburn, as a result of this, are flying in the league at the moment. You know, they currently find themselves in the top 6, but they have an interesting decision to make come January. Regarding his contract situation, it does expire at the end of the season, but they do have the option to extend it by another year. So basically, he's got around about 18 months left in his contract. What would you do if you were then in Blackburn's situation? Would you be happy to let him go in January when you're probably going to get the biggest fee possible for him? This, of course, if he doesn't sign a new contract. But as a result of that, Blackburn are significantly less likely to finish in the top 6, or do you keep him for the rest of the season regardless of what happens, hope that you finish in the top 6 and see what happens, and then maybe get a bit less money for him come the summer? I don't know, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Also, for the Blackburn fans as well, what would be the sort of price tag that you'd actually be looking to get? Because I certainly think that the contract situation plays into it slightly. It would probably play into it more in the summer than it would in January in terms of affecting the actual fee. But it's an interesting one. He was fantastic once again at the weekend as Preston went to Ewood Park, scored a brilliant header, and he's got quite a bit to his game. It's also worth remembering as well that Blackburn did spend quite a bit of money on actually bringing him in. I think the fee in the end being around £7 million, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm in no doubt that they'll end up making profit, but They got quite the interesting decision to make come January should an offer come in for him. And it also wouldn't be a transfer rumour roundup video without a Joe Worrall transfer rumour thrown in there, and we've got one for today's video. Now, it does seem that West Ham are most interested in bringing in Worrall in the January transfer window. This as a result of a couple of their defenders picking up injuries recently. Ogbonna and Kurt Zouma both out for the foreseeable future, and Worrall has been a player who has been linked to probably half the Premier League at this rate, hasn't he? Burnley were very interested in the summer, Southampton had been linked as well, and West Ham were previously linked to Worrall, actually before they went ahead and got that deal done for Kurt Zouma. So this one I do think has some legs in it. It has always seemed more than likely that Worrall will make that jump to the Premier League. It's just a case of the right bid actually coming in for him. So once again, for Forest fans, what sort of fee would you realistically be looking for in January? Well guys, there we have it for today's quick video. If you are happy to see the return of the Championship transfer rumour roundup, make sure to leave a like and do go on and subscribe if you're not already. Check out all the other content that we've got going on the channel at the moment. We've got some cool videos coming out over the next couple of weeks. So other than that guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.